welcome to Raconteurs News.
Good evening and welcome to Raconteurs News. It's come round to Tuesday evening again, and we've had what you might call an exciting week, haven't we, Jason?
We certainly have had an exciting week. It's been a beautiful one, and it's not because of the C word that's happening at the end of the week. It's due to other factors.
Yeah, well, we did a bit of a special last Wednesday evening, and it was you and Aid and Daisy came on, and I believe Aid's back to give us a bit of an update. We've got some news on that front.
Yeah, that's right. The following day, in fact, I'll just leave Adi to take up the story. He's just popped in just the first part of this show just to give us everybody an update. So take it away, Adi. She was, the day after we recorded the interview last week, she was released, wasn't she, the following day?
Well, not quite as simple as you might think. What basically happened was on the, it was either on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, her brother took up the legal position of nearest relative, which we now know, up until that point, they could almost do anything they wanted. After that, they were then answerable to her brother. What that meant was there was a pre-arranged meeting for the Thursday, and her brother basically went in there and said to them, in the past week, what have you done for my sister, other than fill her full of drugs that give her horrendous side effects, and then give her more drugs to try and kill those side effects, which give her even more side effects. You know, what else have you done for her? And they said, well, not really sure. So he said, right, well, if that's the case, then she's better off outside. So I'm here to get her released today. And they said, oh, well, we can't quite do that because she needs to have an overnight stay. So he said, okay.
Hey, AD, I think we've got a bit of a problem, haven't we, with the stream, because people in the chat room are suggesting that they can't hear us.
Yeah.
So, any ideas, Andy?
We have got a problem with the stream. I'm just typing in there. They can listen to us on Spreaker. So, click this link. Done. There we go. Better post the link as well.
Yeah.
That's it. We've got a link there, so people will be able to listen to us. For some reason, we're not going out on autonomous media tonight. Sorry about that, folks. But
okay. So I'll do the last bit again, but dead brief.
Yeah, we'll just start off. If nobody's heard, we like we say, Andy said that we did a show last Wednesday, a mental health special. We had Daisy along, who was an NHS surgeon who'd been targeted by mental health services, which really is being used as a weapon against people that speak out, who are professionals. And we did the show last week. We had a pre-recorded interview with Daisy, and Aid joined us live in the evening, and we discussed it. And we had some developments the next day. So, Ada, take it away again.
Yeah, firstly, good evening, guys. There were two parts to the mental health issue. The first one was there was a fictitious mental health history created in order to shut her up, basically. And that was probably 3-4 years ago. From there, she did get PTSD because of the pressure that she'd gone through being an NHS whistleblower. So there were really two parts to it. The NHS was first used as a weapon, and then she actually ended up in the mental health system because of PTSD. Where we left it last week was she was basically, I was taking her back to prison that evening, and did so. On the Thursday, there was a prearranged meeting that a brother went to, and previous to that, he'd taken up the legal position of nearest relative. So up until that point, they'd been able to almost do anything they wanted, but after he'd taken that position of nearest relative, they then had to agree and run everything through her brother. So Daisy and her brother went to this meeting on the Thursday, and he went in there and he said, what have you done for my sister in the past week, other than give her drugs that give her horrendous side effects? And basically, they didn't have an answer. So we said, right, on that basis, then I want her out of here. I want her out of here now. And they said, well, we can't let her out of here now because she's got to have an overnight stay first to prove that she's stable enough to do that. So he said, okay, overnight tonight at my place, and then release her on the Friday. And they said, well, no, she'll have to have more than one. She'll have to have at least two. So he said, okay, then 2 nights overstay, and then get her out on Saturday. To which they said, well, we don't do weekends, and Monday's a really busy day. So he said, right, 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. And in between then, so that's Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday night, were all overnights. In other words, the Thursday she left there and didn't go back until this morning. A brother contacted them yesterday and said, I'm just ringing you to confirm that my sister will be discharged today. And they said, yes. So she was quite worried going in there this morning on her own, fearing that they would pull something else out of the bag. And she went in there. I didn't hear from her for about 3 hours, so it all overran and they were all very late. But apparently when she walked in the room, which is a very, very small room, big enough for a couple of desks and a couple of chairs, there were 6 people in there. 6 people. Now, if I went for an interview for a job and there were 6 people the other side of the desk, and I was completely rational, not suffering from PTSD, I would think that that was a bit of a stressful situation. So for somebody who's got a bit of PTSD, who's been through hell and back, I would think that was incredibly intimidating and traumatising. And having spoken to her this evening, that's exactly how she felt. Anyway, the bottom line is that they have discharged her. However, they can keep her as an outpatient for up to 3 years. They keep a weekly check on her by visiting her at her home. And if at any point they see that she's going downhill, in their opinion, although they actually describe her as a high-functioning psychotic. Now, whether that means that she's very psychotic or that she functions perfectly normally, although she is psychotic, God knows, but that's what label they put on it. If at any time they think she's getting worse, they can insist she goes back on the drugs. Now, Jason, I think your microphone's off. Do you want to try again? Hello?
Sorry, I've done an Andy. I've turned the microphone off.
I could see you talking to me, but I couldn't hear you, mate. Sorry, Jason, go on.
Yeah, what I was saying is that they can insist. That doesn't mean that they can force her to back onto drugs. And
no, but they made it quite plain that if she doesn't basically toe the line and do as they say, at any point they can then go straight for a Section 3, and then they've got her for 6 months. They believe. If that happens, then we'll be taking other measures and using common law.
I've had a discussion with somebody tonight who's very knowledgeable on this sort of thing, and their advice would be to keep her away from mental health services completely. And I know she does want some help, but that was just the advice that she needs to completely disengage with them.
Mm. You see, the issue for her is because of being a whistleblower and losing a job and losing her income and her ability to earn her income, she has, well, at the moment she actually has no fixed address. And because she has been a mental health patient, that can actually work for her, which would get her some accommodation and appropriate accommodation. The other thing that it would do is put a little bit of money in her pocket every week. But she openly admits that because of the PTSD that's been caused by all this, she does actually need a little bit of help. But where the help stops and where the abuse begins is very, very difficult to...
it's quite a blurred line, isn't it? So
absolutely, yeah.
But it is obviously great news that she's out and she's free and she can do pretty much what she wants. So it's been at least the first part of this story. We've had a good result, and I've got to congratulate on everything that you've done.
Well, I mean, it's like I said last week, for bad things to happen, all it needs is for good people to sit back and do nothing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not prepared to do that. And I don't think that anybody on on the call tonight, or anybody in the chat room would actually do that. They would help a friend, and that's all I would ask anybody to do. But it certainly isn't the end of the story. She's got a long way to go. She will absolutely continue to get mine and your help. And I know that's something we've discussed at length. But one thing I would want to say is, last week when we did the pre-record, Andy actually put in the on the website the address of an organisation that's been set up to help whistleblowers. And one thing that Daisy did stress was, please, 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 if anybody's thinking of blowing the whistle, whether they realise that's what they're doing or not, because she actually did it without realising that she was actually blowing the whistle.
Yep.
She didn't do it maliciously, or there was none of that going on. It was purely, she just thought she was raising workplace concerns about a social enterprise. I took that to mean that somebody was siphoning money away, but that was only my own view. And she'd spotted it.
Okay. Well,
so, those websites are there, and she would urge anybody who finds themselves in that position, don't do it on your own. Get help. There are people out there, and I know you put the link up last week, and I'd just ask you to do that again, Andy, if you would.
Yeah, no problem, mate. We'll do, certainly.
Anyway, I thank you very, very much for the 10 minutes of stealing Colin's time on the show tonight. And if there's any more updates about Daisy, and I will pass on everybody's good wishes. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Aid, and well done you and Daisy and Jason for all that you've done this week. Brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, cheers, AD. Yeah, you're an absolute superstar, and I'll speak to you very soon, my friend.
Thanks, mate. See you
Stick
later.
around if you want. If you want to stick around and add your £2 at any point, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just here. I'm just here with a wet dog on my knee, so that's fine.
Okay, well, at least it's not a wet pussy. Although perhaps you preferred that.
Well, yeah, it's been a while.
Well, anyway, I think we should probably move on, because our guest, we've already eaten into 13 minutes of his time tonight. So, Andy, how's about we introduce our guest for this evening?
Yeah, tonight we've got a guest on. We've had on a couple of times before. I'm not sure if we've had him on Raconteurs News or it's back in the Enemy Within days. But he's a guy who's doing a lot of great work on the east coast of England. He's formed a group called East Coast Resistance, and he's off helping people all over the place. Welcome back to Raconteurs News, Colin Johnson.
Evening, gentlemen.
Evening, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good evening, Colin. First time
Hello,
I've spoken to you, I believe, so it must have been Enemy Within. It must have been with your ex that you interviewed him before.
Oh, don't start about that again.
He's always bringing his ex up, that's the problem.
Yeah, I've had a lot going on down in the old Great Yarmouth with the council are doing a great job up here at the moment of literally stripping the buildings and everything away from the people. It's getting to a point where there's going to be nothing left in Great Yarmouth soon that the public own.
Right. Do you mean actually? Do you mean asset stripping, or,
Yeah.
do you mean actually going into buildings and just sort of like dismantling the infrastructure that's in them?
Well, I was going to leave that bit to a bit later, but I'll give you one example. It was a National Health building. Yeah, it was the doctors.
Yep.
The Unite and that tried to get involved with it, and I'll tell you about that later on as well. But it was a National Health building, and they had over between £5 and £8 million they spent on the building. It's been open, I'll say, a year and a half, and now they've closed it. But now they're going to sell it. But it's right behind the buildings. I don't know if I remember. I did mention it on one of your programs before, where they had all these big buildings. It used to be the old town hall and all that. And they said that they put it up for sale, but no one would buy it. So they sold it to their friends for 50 pence. And basically it was a whole line of buildings, and they sold them all for 50 pence. Well, you know Jason, my mate Jason.
Yeah.
Well, we was uptown and we was walking about up there. So Jason decided to ring them up and find out how much one of these buildings was. We was going to offer them £2. They bought it for 50 pence. So we thought £2. They've made a profit. So
Massive profit.
Yeah. So we phoned them up, and the woman on the phone started to tell us the prices. For one little floor, the starting price was £153,000. Now you've got to realise these guys bought this for 50 pence.
Gee.
So obviously there's some skullduggery going on. But
of course, some pipes being greased as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. See, but they used the phrase, I don't know if you must have heard it, affordable housing. That's their word. They say we're only taking this bit of land or this property because we're going to put affordable housing on it. Well, I've done a few checks on what they did. They basically cut a car parking off and they built a load of houses on it. Well, the starting price for one of these, it was from 2 and 3 bedroom houses. The starting price was £130,000. Now these were all built on public land. There was no public inquiry.
So who when you say public land, who owns these buildings? Who's the owner?
The people.
So this is public property that the council are supposed to be stewards of, to look after on behalf of the public, which is what they're supposed to do. And this has been sold off at like not even pennies on the pound. I mean, we're talking 50 pence.
Yeah.
They're being sold off. And is there any direct link between any specific people and these companies that are buying?
Well, it's. I did read on one of these signs, sold to Friends of Great Yarmouth Council. Now you take that what you will. I just as I read it, I was just getting a sort of a flashback of a big brown envelope going into someone's back pocket.
Yeah.
But well, they did with this. They cut a car park in half, dug it all up, put all these houses in it, all sold by a private corporation, and they keep using this phrase of affordable housing. But who's got a spare 130 grand in their back pocket?
No.
They've taken public land to do it.
Well, I'd imagine Yarmouth is pretty similar to the area that I live in. It's a very low wage area because much seasonal work and agricultural work, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head there, mate. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, so 130,000 for a starter home might work in a big city, but where you've got rural agricultural wages, and we know from a lot of reports that are coming in that a lot of the people who are working in these areas are working well below the minimum wage. I did see there was 2 gangmasters were up in court recently, one in Cambridge and one in Lincolnshire, for slavery.
Yeah, well, that's not uncommon, is it, mate? It's been dug up quite a lot just lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Colin, can you sort of paint me a picture of? I'm not familiar with Great Yarmouth. I've not been ever, I don't think. So, can you paint me a picture of Great Yarmouth? What's it? I know there's a lot of seaside towns that are full, that it seems to be where they park the immigrants, and so a lot of places do have a lot of social issues regarding immigrants and locals, perhaps being put against each other. What's the picture like in Great Yarmouth?
Well, like you said, it's a seaside town. I've basically lived here for 15 years. I've seen the changes in that 15 years you wouldn't believe. There's one half of town now there basically is a no-go area. It's basically killing the town itself.
A no-go area, as in why? Is it there's gangs of people hanging about, or the wrong sort of people, or people that are perhaps that you don't really want to associate with? You know what I mean? Is it do you, places that you go to when you perhaps feel intimidated? Is that what you mean?
Oh, I don't know about, that's a bit of a strong word, intimidated, isn't it?
I mean, it's a strong word, but I mean, it doesn't. If it's a no-go area, I mean, the reason why you're not going is presumably because you feel intimidated.
Well, yeah, I suppose you're right there, but I suppose you're right. You are right. It's an area that I wouldn't want to go and walk about overnight. It is a bit naughty over that area, which never used to be. It used to be a decent part of town. But it's just been killed. It's been killed.
And also, just for those who haven't met Colin, Colin says he wouldn't walk about at night time there. Colin is about 6'5" and he's built like a brick outhouse.
That's a good description, I suppose. It is a bit naughty, but like I said, it's the changing world we're in at the moment. It's a crazy sort of thing. But
yeah,
I think that a lot of this is being done in these areas to keep everyone's focus on what's going on over there, when really the bad stuff is being done in our town halls. And they're killing Yarmouth. What they did, it was about 3-4 years ago. They had a big thing. It's gonna an outer harbour, they called it, and it was going to cost X amount of millions and millions, basically all to be paid for from council taxpayers and whatever else in Yarmouth. And they built this, and it's turned into a white elephant. It's the only ships that you see going in there are the same ships that used to park along the quay that have been coming here for donkey's years. They put on a spurt. It was going to be, we're going to have ocean liners coming now. All this to take business away from the port of Felixstowe. You know,
it's the usual bullshit that you get from politicians.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, now what they're doing at the end of the day, they're taking over. Like sort of, if you look at the shape of Great Yarmouth. When you look at the front of Great Yarmouth, I'm talking along the seafront and what have you, it's like a little island on its own.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at that map there, all you'll see is a bit of greenery and all the rest of it. But that's not what it's like now. It's literally had a line drawn across that little island, and they've literally taken over the whole of that part of the area. And now they're starting to move in to people's businesses and just going in there, serving them a notice. You've got so long to get out. We're having the building, and that's what they've started to do. Just like the last few months, a guy contacted me, and he said, "Cole, have you know what's going on up the other end of town?" I said, "No, I don't know nothing about it. What's happening?" He said, "They're only taking all these businesses away, going to bulldoze it, so they can plaster up the old wind farm. You know these things they stick out to sea.
Yeah,
yeah. They want somewhere to store the bits, so they're going to bulldoze all these businesses, so they can put this up." So the wind farms, I think they're owned up here by Eon. I'm pretty sure it's Eon that sort of runs a lot of this sort of stuff up here.
Right. Yeah.
It's one guy. I spoke to him. I've done a little interview with him, but he didn't want me to post it because he's going to try and fight them in the courts. When I thought to myself, well, mate, you're wasting your time there. They've even stopped the thing so no one can sort of protest against it, you know. So Yeah, this geezer's been living. He's had a business there for 23 years, and he come into work this particular day, and he's got a letter landing on his doorstep, and it's Great Yarmouth Council. Basically, we're taking your building. Get out.
And this is happening. This is not just an isolated case, is it? It's happening all over Yarmouth.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're killing it. They're killing the whole area, and no one's standing up to them. So yeah, this is where I've got in. Sorry, go on.
Well, Colin, I was just going to point out a few weeks ago on Raconteurs News, the lads had on the chap who lived down in Torquay was talking about Gloucester.
Max Stiltman.
Yeah, Max.
That's right. And what he basically said was he's had some success down in Cornwall and in Devon. And what they've basically done is the people who want to, in his words, reject whatever the council are wanting to do, have all chosen not to be on the electoral register. And the reason they've done that is if you register to vote, you agree to go along with the majority, with democracy. If you don't register to vote, you keep your vote for yourself, and you maintain the right to ring the council at any time or write to them and say, no, I reject what you're putting forward. Now they've managed to save. It was at least a couple of buildings. As I remember, I mean, Andy or Jason, you might have a better recollection of that because you actually did the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have. I can't recall.
I can't recall the specific details either. No.
Yeah, basically, what he was getting at was if you use the word reject, then you're not protesting. You are saying to them, I am a member of the public. You are here to represent me. I'm not registered to vote because I don't want to give anybody else my right, because when you register to vote, when you register anything, you give up legal title to it.
Yeah.
And you agree to go along with the majority. Well, they've not done that, so they've maintained their own right to be able to go to the council at any point and say, I reject what you're doing.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to listen to that back, I mean, the Max Stiltley interview is on the podcast, in it, and I think I've got it on my YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Colin,
Definitely.
how much resistance have you got down there in Yarmouth to this? Or are we something that's at an early stage?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I find it quite difficult to motivate this lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They all seem to be so sound asleep. Well, they're not asleep. They're just
Demoralised.
No, I wouldn't say that. They're not. They're like they don't want any trouble.
Right. Okay.
You know? Just let them get on with it, and as long as they leave us alone, we'll leave them alone. That sort of attitude.
Yeah, I get you.
And it's sometimes you bang your head against a brick wall. It's just crazy. But all this stuff, I can't be the only one in Yarmouth that's seeing it.
No, so from that, I'm gathering then there isn't really very much resistance at all. So have you got any allies, or is there? I know you've set up this your group and what have you, East Coast Resistance on Facebook. Is there anybody with you? I know a few people. I know a few
lads. Funny you should say that. I've been having a problem with Unite, the union. You must have heard of them. They're countrywide. Well, we've got our own little branch in Great Yarmouth, and basically some of the stuff that they've been pulling up here just lately, I've put it all over my YouTube channel. I sort of basically told them that they're not worth the money. And
Colin, just before you go any further, is that a public sector workers union?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, like Unison, and it used to be Cozy, Noopy and Nalgo, didn't it?
Yeah, well, Unite in Great Yarmouth is run by a guy called Kevin Reynolds.
Okay.
And I put a few posts up and all the rest of it, and I even said to him on my YouTube channel, get in touch with me. So I'm sitting here slagging you off for what you've done. You know, at least come back to me and tell me if I'm being wrong or I'm not getting things quite right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy contacted me. I put it up on me channel, and basically he's going that all this stuff I was wrong about, and him and his cronies are sort of bang on the ball with it, which I proved like tenfold that they're full of crap. But anyway, he turned around and said to me in his spiel that if I ever had any suggestions or anything to do with people losing their jobs and all the rest, he'd get in touch and we'll get involved. So as soon as I found out about all this that was going on, I contacted him. And I've never heard, and this was the September, August time, and I've never heard a word from him to this day. I know he's had the messages and everything else, but he still hasn't contacted me. And this is the whole point of why I was having a go at Unite in the first place.
So essentially, it was when he said contact me, he was just giving you lip service, really, much like any other organised official in inverted commas body.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I've opened my eyes when it comes to this organisation. The amount of people, I've had hundreds and hundreds of people contact me all about Unite, how they're taking their money, but when they want to use the services, it's denied to them. You know what I mean? And it's heartbreaking, a lot of the things that these people have lost their jobs, lost their houses, and the night I knew all about it, but just sat on their hands. Well, this is where I come back to this guy, Kevin Reynolds. A lot of the people that he was working with in his own organisation were contacting me. And they're saying, Colin, this geezer's a waste of space. He's trying to get on the political ladder. And this is when I started to think, well, hold on a minute. He's trying to get on the political ladder. So is he going to go against what the political system is doing to Yarmouth? Well, he ain't, is he?
No, of course not.
There's no way. That's why he hasn't contacted me and wants to get involved to stop people losing their jobs, stop people losing their houses. And this is what he portrays that he's dead against.
As you said, the political ladder. I'm sorry, I'm just getting sort of like distracted. Somebody behind you lifting the leg up.
That's my Jack.
Right, so I think he's doing some stretches and stuff. This leg just keeps appearing above your head and going round.
Boxer, isn't he? So there's legs and arms everywhere usually.
Colin, you said you had a lot of people who had contacted you about losing their houses and losing their jobs.
Yeah.
Are they the sort of people that you could contact back and maybe get a formal group together and see if you can get some remedy from the council by rejecting what they're proposing to do? Is that something that you could do?
Yeah, I dare say I could. Because a lot of them have said, like, if you need any help, blah, 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 which I do get quite a lot of, to be honest with you. But then you've got the added problem is getting everyone together, because you'll find that a lot of people that contact you are all over the country. Do you know what I mean? And it's getting a whole group together, sort of one voice.
And of course, you're not exactly in the best part of the country for access to other areas of the country. I mean, you can only really go one way, and that's east.
Yeah, exactly. Right at the end of that.
Sorry, west, not east. If you go east, you'll better get wet.
You'd get wet if you went east.
Yeah, but that's what's been going on with my little rant with they're killing Yarmouth, absolutely killing. Everywhere you look, they're ripping buildings down. They're the one that, listen to this, right in the middle of town, right? Some people say, should we say allegedly, a building went up. It housed a load of sort of market type stalls inside, and it was a fair old size. They used to have the old bowling, the old Skittles and bowl upstairs.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a fair old building, and so we just say unexplained caught fire. Right, a lot of people's the rumblings in Yarmouth is it wasn't an accident, but that's allegedly. I don't know if that's true, but
we're finding that quite a lot. There's quite a lot of buildings that get that are destroyed in seaside towns outside of the season. I mean, there was recently one in Skegness, in Inglemells near Skegness, because it's right across the road from where we've got our caravan, and that this last couple of weeks was completely destroyed. Again, very, very, very. I won't say suspicious, but just something that makes you think. And we had there's been several buildings in Skegness that have met the same fate, and it just does make you wonder what is going on. Whether it's you don't know whether someone's trying to, and I've got no evidence for this. It's just a speculation that I'm putting out there. You don't know whether somebody's claiming insurance, or you don't know whether it's somebody who wants the land, who wants to develop it, and their people are not going to sell, and it's just then destroyed, and the land is then bought up. I don't know what it is, but it seems to be a bit of an epidemic on the East Coast.
Yeah, that's the problem, but. The thing that sort of really got to me is now, just for argument's sake, there were 30 people who had jobs in that building. Right? They've all lost their jobs. They're all gone.
Yep.
Right? But instead of replacing the building, which is, you've got to take into consideration, this is right in the middle of the shopping centre. Right? Now, they're proposing, right, we ain't going to put another building back up there so then 30 people could have their jobs back. We're going to turn it into a car park. Now, if anyone knows Great Yarmouth, in the town centre itself, you must have, a rough guess, 15 car parks. And we're not talking little car parks here. We're talking major car parks.
Yeah.
Hold hundreds and hundreds of cars. Now, I've lived here 15 years, and I've never once seen a whole of these car parks full, and that's even in the holiday season.
Mm.
So why the hell they want to turn that into a car park as well? It's just beyond me. Why don't they replace the building?
It sounds to me like they're trying to turn it into a ghost town.
Well,
that was my next thing I was going to talk about, because I think that's exactly what they want.
Well, as you were talking earlier, I didn't want to butt in, but Society of the Spectacle posted in the chat room there, they've got big plans for Great Yarmouth with Agenda 30, and basically they want to get rid of all the oiks like us and gentrify it. I don't know if you've heard that, Colin, particularly in reference to Yarmouth.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. They are slowly but surely doing it, and this is where I get so frustrated with it, with why people just keep stum. You know what I mean? Start shouting about these things before it gets too late, and we've got nothing. And
Colin,
the way they're going, it ain't going to be long before they've done it.
Go on, Ada.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know where I've heard this, but this is sticking in my brain. If a council leaves a piece of land empty, it's classed almost like a piece of fallow land, like a farmer would. And once it's been like that for, I mean, the word might be derelict, I don't know. Once it's been like that for a certain amount of time, they can then do what the hell they like with it. Now, these car parks, are these, I know you said there's a lot of them. Is it sort of a rotating thing where 1 minute something's a car park for a few years and then it becomes they're building it again? Is that the agenda they're trying to do? Do you think? Is it? way of getting land on the cheap, or?
Well, I think point probably would be turning it into a car park means that it's not fallow land, is it? It's actually serving a purpose so that they can then do something with it and then justify charging people. And then I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. But carry on. Go on, Colin.
I don't know where I've heard that, and I don't know where it's coming from inside my head, but I have got something telling me that if they sort of leave a piece of land without a building on it, it does open up what they can do with it and who they can sell it to in the future. So maybe there's some long-term agenda there. There must be a long-term agenda. There's got to be there.
If they leave a lump of land for too long, it then becomes common land, doesn't it?
Mm.
Right.
So
okay.
that's why they have to put something on it. It's just like I want to get back to that. What I was telling you about this guy's building that's going to get bulldozed. He's been there for 23 years. Well, I had a little walk round that part of Yarmouth, and I found absolutely acres and acres of land not being used with nothing on it. Absolutely acres and acres of it. They've even got the old what's name station that was there, the power station, and that's got to be 30 acres, and nothing's being done with it. But they want to go and bulldoze all these buildings to do. I even found some land that was up for sale. Acres of it was up for sale.
Is the power station derelict now, Colin?
Yeah, it's gone. They bulldozed that part of it. That's gone that was gone before I was here.
Oh wow!
But there's absolutely acres. There's no need whatsoever to go and bulldoze these buildings, but they're going to do it, and no one's going to stop them. They put a block on the public inquiry, so no one can complain about it. They've got it all sewn up.
Incredible. That it does seem that way. It's happening all over the country. I mean, it's about time people started bloody waking up to it, because if they don't, it's going to be too late, isn't it?
Well, this is my argument. Everyone's sitting on their own. Well, it ain't happening to me.
Yeah.
I think the trouble is that most people look to somebody else for remedy, and like in a lot of cases, until something really, really bad happens to you, you don't wake up.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I got into all this. What I've gotten into, because something bad happened to me. I was like everyone else, I suppose. Didn't care what was happening past my own door.
Yeah.
Until it started to happen to me.
Yeah.
That's when I sort of took a stood back and thought, hello, something's not quite right here.
Yeah.
I can't have this.
But, we're all sort of inbred as to being made to believe that the only place you can go for remedy is the people that are causing you the trouble in the first place. So, and you're trying to get people on board, and they just see this uphill battle that they're never going to win, so they just give in. And that's what they want. That's what the people further up the tree, as they see themselves, that's what they want. They want you to roll over and die.
What are they doing in town centre, Colin? Are they? What's the town centre like? Is it a lot of charity shops? Is it the usual shops, the usual suspects? You get your Greggs and your Heart Foundation shops and all that sort of thing. What's it like in the centre?
You've been walking around our town centre then, mate. That's it exactly.
Well, to be honest, Colin, you don't need to walk around any town centre, because all town centres are just like rinse and repeat. They're all exactly the same. We stopped off on the way back from a conference a couple of years ago, and it was a Sunday morning, Sunday lunchtime, we were coming back, and I said, oh, let's stop off for Sunday lunch somewhere, make a day of it, So I said, oh, I know, there's a beautiful little market town just up the road here, we'll stop there. And that was the beautiful little town of Thetford. Now we stopped and we parked up, and in the car park we parked in, there was a group of Eastern European lads all looking very shifty in the corner of the car park. I thought, hang on, this is just like being at home. And as we walked through the town centre, they were all chain pubs that were all showing Sky TV. There wasn't a local pub. There wasn't anywhere with fresh cooked food. And every single shop was identical to walking through the pedestrianised precinct in Boston. And even down to the fact that as you walk past the shops, there were people stood outside talking in Eastern European accent. I thought, this is weird. What happened to Thetford? But you go anywhere in the country, it's the same now.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Yeah, and that's the only sort of, I wouldn't even say new business that have moved into town is all the banks, and they've got great big shop fronts. You know, all the plush stuff.
Yeah.
And all the pubs have got their own drunks. I find that as well. When I went to when we were in Skeggy in August, we went into Skegness, and I noticed that all the pubs had their own drunks. That pretty much seemed how the pubs were surviving, with the people that were coming in every day, the people that were getting the money somehow, and were just drinking constantly and arguing and fighting.
Yeah. See, that was never the case with Great Yarmouth. I always found when I first come to Great Yarmouth was a great town. Everyone was friendly. You very rare to see any pickiness or anything naughty going on. You know, it was a really going town. But over the last 6-7 years, it's just gone to pot.
Mm.
I can remember going to Great Yarmouth as a child, and so it's at least 10 years ago. And I'm right in thinking these are childhood memories, so they may be way off, but I can remember doing the Seal Sanctuary, and is that sort of stuff still there, Colin, or has that gone now, or what?
Yeah, it's still there. It's just like everything that's in the seaside part, the amusement side, and all the rest of it is all the same. It's never been upgraded, and they wonder why people don't want to come here.
Yeah,
because it's like if you go to somewhere and it's the same for a couple of years, you think, oh, sorry, I want to go somewhere else. That's the same. That's just going to be the same.
Yeah. So there's no investment. There's no investment in the seaside part of the town, the tourist part of the town.
No.
I mean,
the only thing they invested in is the swimming pool and all the rest of it. Like a little, where all the gyms are and what do you call them? I'm high on my bloody head now. You know, it's got a gym in it. Leisure centre. God, I couldn't think properly then. Yeah, it was like a little leisure centre, but that's owned by the council. But they put millions into it last year.
Right.
And so you know what's going on. It's all getting naughty. So I'm going to put something together anyway. I'm going to have to start standing up and really kicking in with these people.
It sounds similar to what Max was describing down in the southwest, where they'll if they want rid of a building, they just don't do anything to it for years, and then say, "Oh, look at it, that tired old building. Let's just tear it down."
Yeah.
Let's make way, and all the public think things are getting better when actually what's happening is, the council's friends are moving in for 50p a floor instead of 130,000, and making a killing.
Yeah. See, that's another thing. When you start, I started digging into it. Have you ever heard of a company called Norse?
Nope.
Norse.
It sort of rings a bell. I think I might have seen it on the side of a van at some point, but I can't think of them, what they do or anything.
Well, they basically do all the council stuff, all the repairs to houses and all sorts. They've got buses and they've got everything.
Yeah, we got same up here in Sheffield. They're called Kia, aren't they? In Sheffield.
Well, there you go. It must be the same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I wondered what these people were really up to, so I had to look into it, and it turns out it's a company that's earning 250 million to 300 million pound a year. It's owned by Norfolk County Council. They own it. So how comes they're earning all this money with this company, but nothing's being played back into Norfolk? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Well, I started to do a bit of complaining about it, asking questions, posting it up, the same question on sites what the council will put on. And it was funny that all the livery on the vans, as soon as I started to mention it, all the livery on the vans was quickly taken down from Norse and put GB, Great Yarmouth Borough Council on them.
Marvellous.
They're obviously trying to cover up what they're up to there then, Colin.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
I would say that's Norfolk and good.
Norfolk and good, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're coming to the end of the first hour, Colin, so how's about we bang on a tune and we'll come back and perhaps...
But I did not hit no policeman. Oh no. I said I chinned the bailiff, but I didn't hit no policeman. Going up in my garden, they're trying to break the door. They want to steal my possessions, 'cause a banker man, he wants more. But I say, I chinned the bailiff, but I swear it was in self-defense. I chinned the bailiff, oh, and they say it is a violent offense. Bailiff man always hated me. He wanted to make me go. When I asked for the warrant, he just smirks, and then he just said no. Bailiff, but I swear it was in self-defense. I say I chinned the bailiff, but I swear it was in self-defense. He was a big boy. For 25 years I paid my way. The banker, he want more. Man says I can't stay, now he's breaking down the door. I can't take no more. I chinned that bailiff, but I did not hit no policeman. Oh no. I chinned the bailiff, but I did not hit no policeman. My reflexes got the better of him when he tried to throw a punch. I dodged the blow and I took him down. And now he's out to lunch. And it only took one punch. I did not hit no policeman. Oh, no, 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 no. I said, I chinned that bailiff, but that policeman come nowhere near me, man. For 25 years I paid my way. The banker said he want more. Bailiff man says that I can't stay, so he's breaking down my door.
My name is Michael Urbanissia, and I'm the producer-director of The Great British Mortgage Swindle, and you're listening to autonomousmedia.net.
And welcome back to Raconteurs News this lovely Tuesday evening. We're building up for the festive season. We started out tonight's show with some fantastic news that Daisy, who was on last Wednesday, is now, she's home, she's not sectioned anymore, and she's in the care of friends and family, and she's doing real well. We then were joined by Colin Johnson, who was telling us a little bit about the land grab that's going on in East Yarmouth. Before we get Colin back on, I'd just like to mention something that's going on tomorrow. So if there's anyone who can possibly get to Leeds Crown Court tomorrow, there's a good friend of ours, Andy Mackey, aka Truth Machine, who's up there, and he's there. It's a court case that's going on regarding the children that were abused in St William's Care Home, and Andy's is part of that group, and he's got quite a few people hopefully going to support him tomorrow. But the more we can get there, the merrier. We're certainly going to go up there if we can. Well, we are going up there, and so come and say hi if you can. More the merrier. And Andy's also said that anyone who comes over to Leeds to support him is welcome to go and celebrate his birthday at the Castle Rig Stone Circle up in Keswick. He's got his sound system there, which is a pretty awesome sound system. It'd be the envy of most nightclubs. So, yeah, if you fancy going up to Leeds tomorrow and support Andy and then celebrating his birthday with him, he's a lovely guy, and I'm sure you'll have a great time. Anyway, back to tonight.
I'd just like to say, Andy, that's a great way to make sure that you get lots of people coming to your birthday party.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well,
say the beers are on me.
Thinking about it, we ought to be having a birthday party soon, didn't we, Jason?
Yeah, it'll be a year, won't it? In January.
Well, I think we started Raconteurs News in December.
Yeah, I don't think I started till January. I think I started about January 20th. I know I did a show with you on Enemy Within.
That's right.
With Len and Honor, but we didn't start. I didn't start because, if you remember, this time last year I was a little bit laid up.
Oh yeah, you were a bit poorly, weren't you?
Yeah, so yeah, it would. I think it was about January 20th. But yeah, it's close to our first anniversary, and we really should do something about it. Have a party.
I think we should just get Andy and Jason anniversary cards. To a lovely couple.
Well, it saves us making two other people miserable, doesn't it, Jason?
That's right, yeah. I think, well, let's get back to meat of the motion tonight. How you doing, Colin?
I'm fine, thanks, mate.
Are you all refreshed and everything?
Yeah, shook it.
Excellent. Well, we had a great first hour, so what is it what you fancy covering in the second hour?
We'll talk a little bit about East Coast Resistance, if you like.
Yeah,
what's going on, what we've been up to.
Yeah, great idea.
Do.
Go on, go for it.
Yeah. Well, we've had a couple of, more than a couple of good wins just lately. We've got to have had the fastest clamp removal in history. 3 minutes. If any groups out there can beat that, I'd like to hear. But 3 minutes, the clamp was removed.
Perhaps we should offer a prize. We'll do a competition. If anybody can show us a video of something that's quicker than 3 minutes of a clamp removal, then they'll win a Raconteurs News T-shirt.
Yeah, but they can't cut it off themselves. It's got to be removed by the bailiff.
Oh, right.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah. That's fine. Well, we could do both. We can stretch to 2 T-shirts, can't we? If we can have a cut-off one, and we can have a removed by the bailiffs one. Not that we're condoning people cutting off clamps from their vehicles.
I thought you were cutting off the T-shirt.
Well, if the vehicle's illegally clamped, then you are entitled to cut the clamp off, aren't you?
You are, but you know what they're like. They'll bend it any which way that they can, and in order
straight in with the old criminal damage charge, aren't they?
Right. So this 3 minutes. Give us some background on this. What happened? What were they there for?
Oh, it was I can't remember exactly what the monetary thing it was about, but yeah, the guy he phoned me at 7:30 in the morning. Said, Colin, can you help me? They've clamped the missus's car. She wants to go to work. She's doing her nut, and this geezer reckons he's going to take the car away. Well, I said, what paperwork has he showed you? He ain't showed me no paperwork. He just said that we're going to take your car, blah, blah, blah. So I thought to myself, right, well, I ain't close to it, but I know a man who is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who I'm going to say, Mr. Kev Mark himself.
Yeah.
So we was on the old Skype, and Kev was talking. He said to this guy, get the bailiff on. So the guy's given me his phone, and Kev's worked his magic, and the bloke went from smiling to no smile, basically looking sick. And he said, "Right, I can't do no more of this. I'm going to go back to my office. I'm taking this clamp off." That was it. That was the last they see of him. So, you know, how Kev, he does choose his words carefully.
Oh yeah. Oh, nice one, Kev. Well done, mate.
Yeah. And funny, same man again. I asked for his help. Well, a gas warrant come in.
Mm-hmm.
It was being dealt with by another group, and who like their egg sandwiches. I'll just drop that in.
Yeah, we know.
Well, the lady who they supposed to have been helping couldn't contact them. She tried and tried and tried, couldn't contact them, and basically police and the gas warrant were literally banging on her door.
Yeah.
So there's Superman again. He's come straight out, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Done his business, and they packed up and ran away without doing their dirty deed.
We've got a question in the chat room. Big David G has posted a question. You did say that Kevin worked his magic. So he says, what did he say?
Can I let the secrets out?
Ooh, I don't know. Is it a secret?
Oh. You know, at the end of the day, it's down to Kevin to sort of say what he knows and what he don't know, isn't it, really?
Yeah, but he don't talk to us anymore, so you should tell us.
Yeah.
He told them to jog on, he says, in the chat.
Yeah, basically, that's what he told them. He told them they've got no paperwork, they've got nothing. And if they don't sling their up, they're going to find themselves in court.
Right.
And it sort of worked its magic on the man. He sort of realised that, hold on, these blokes know what they're talking about. We can't con our way here.
Mm.
Let's have it on our toes.
I think possibly as well, part of the reason what Kevin does works so very well is because Kevin's nature when he's talking to people is very, very calm and measured. He never raises his voice. He never starts waving his arms about. There's never any shouting. It's all very calm. And they can't deal with that. If you're shouting and bawling, what are you doing about paedophiles and all that, they can deal with that. But if you're calm...
they're used to it, Andy, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're calm...
They're used to that. They're not used to, like, Kevin's way.
No.
And what else is going on? We had another issue with Rossendale's. they went to a local house to me and was kicking on the door, screaming and shouting what they're going to do and what they ain't going to do. Even sort of having a go at the kids, telling the kids, Mummy's ruining your Christmas and all that. We're going to take all your presents and all that sort of stuff. You know, well, this is it. So the woman contacted me and said, Cole, what can I do about this? I said, I'll be down tomorrow. So they said they were coming the next day on the Monday. I said, I'll be there 6 o'clock when they can come. And we'll stay there and get this dealt with for you. It's only over council tax, and they basically want their money, don't they? They take these council tax things and they run with them, and a lot of people haven't got a clue what their rights are, what they can do and what they can't do, and these people get away with it. And so I went down there, and there was 3 of us, and we went down to this lady's house, and we sat there. Well, for 3 days we stayed there, and we got a letter on the 3rd day saying we're not coming. We're not coming, but we've set up a payment plan for you. You can get Christmas out of the way, and you can start paying us in January. But we want £40 a month on you. So you know what I said.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. They're not coming anyway. But I do know for a fact that they drove past on them. They were there. They were coming to that woman's house. They'd petrified her for 2 days. And they were coming back on the 3rd day to do what they had promised. Kick her doors in, take all her goods and what have you. But they've come along, seen us plotted up there, obviously seen the camera, it's on the tripod, and they thought, well, we ain't having none of that. I know who he is. He made a mockery of Mr. What's his name? Oxley.
Yeah.
He made a mockery of him, made him famous on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, they decided they weren't coming. But I've sent all the paperwork off to them, basically telling them that to send it back to the council. I'll deal with the council for her.
Well, that really goes back to something that Aid said right at the start of the show. All that's required for evil to triumph is that good men stand by and do nothing.
Yeah.
If we all stand together and start putting our heads together on this, we can get it sorted out. But while we're just a group of individuals, and particularly a group of individuals that are arguing and falling out over the stupidest little things, we're never going to get anywhere. We're doing their job for them. So anyone who's arguing with anyone about anything online, if you've got important stuff to do, forget it. Move on. Agree to disagree. Just
at least if you've got an argument with somebody, take it offline. Don't make it public. It's just a complete and utter waste of time. If you've got a problem with somebody, then be man enough to be able to just go to that person and say, look, I don't agree with this, or I don't know that. But agree to disagree. There's just no future in the nonsense that's been happening, well, all over the place, isn't it?
I did see a little interesting comment during the first half in the chat room. It was another one from Society, and they posted that it was in response to the comments that Colin made about Unite. He said, yeah, the unions are all screwed. That's why Max Egan is calling for a worldwide general strike on the 16th of April this year. And I think that'd be a damn good idea if there was enough people did it. Any thoughts?
Motivated to do it, Andy. That's the trouble. There don't seem to be no motivation anymore. Everyone's walking around with sort of rosy-coloured glasses on.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that the thing with it is the system has got everybody in a dog-eat-dog mental state.
Well, that's it, yeah.
In order just to survive, you've got to try and climb over people and do it. Not help anybody up. And that's what we've all got to get back to, helping each other.
Yeah, absolutely, Aid.
You know, this system ain't designed for us. This system's designed for those at the top, and we've got to show them that we don't care about them anymore. We're just going to help each other.
It's the way to go, mate. Yeah, it was I don't know if I ought to say this because it's talking about my ex again, but Tom often used to hark back to, because he's from a colliery village up in the northeast. He used to hark back to the days when the collieries were still open, and he said we didn't need government then because we all looked after each other. You know, everybody put a penny a week in the club or whatever it was, and if somebody came out of work or run on bad times, the rest of the community would look after them. But all that's been destroyed because there aren't those communities around those big industries anymore, and everybody's just scared to death that somebody else is going to get a scrap more than they are, and they want to fight them for it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is something we can learn from Asian communities. They do that, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, and we should get back to that. You know, we don't need the system. Let's just ignore it out of existence and just get on with our lives.
That's why they killed all the working man's clubs and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
They absolutely wiped them off the face of the earth, all that sort of stuff. Community centres and all sorts are all gone. Because that's where a lot of people used to do their meeting. They used to sort of get in and learn what's happening to your neighbour and all the rest of it.
Absolutely. And again, that was, they knew that one way to dilute that was the smoking ban. The smoking ban has absolutely killed pubs. I mean, if you wanted to have non-smoking areas, fine, let's have smoking areas and non-smoking areas. But what they were afraid of is that when people were out having a drink, that they'd mostly be in the smoking areas. And so, you know, you've got people that are more like-minded getting together, haven't you? And that's what they didn't want.
Yeah, it's the oldest trick in the book, divide and conquer.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I've seen something really sad there. Poor old Mithrin, he said he's been on strike since 2010 and no one noticed. Good on you, Mithrin. I see you trying to do the right thing there.
Yeah, it's strange. Well, it's not strange actually. It's perfectly predictable. But the places where you can still get social clubs, because Heath is up in Newcastle, lives up in Newcastle, in North Shields, and the areas such as that, like sort of Newcastle, Liverpool, areas that have got their own identity, that is where there are still social clubs, which is why Heath stays in the northeast, because if it comes down to Sheffield, it's all gone because we've lost his identity. Everyone's identity, it's all been diluted down. Whereas if you find these places where they've got like their own accent, you know, a proper Geordie accent or a Scouse accent, these places are largely been untouched because there's still the same people that are there, and the social clubs are still thriving in those areas.
Ah. I know when I...
thing then, we should start sort of mobilising. Like pushing all this crap that's happening to us all over the place. It's not just Yarmouth. You see it all over the place, and we've got to start doing something about it, because sooner or later.
Yeah, there was an idea that one of our guests came up with last week, and that was Francis Richard Connolly, who made the film JFK to 9/11, Everything's a Rich Man's Trick. And he said, yes, we need to start mobilising, but he said what I think we should start doing is putting together a list of people who would be prepared to act on behalf of the wider community and to do the job of government when we get rid of these scumbags that are stealing from us now. Get a list of people who are prepared to serve their country and not take a huge salary for doing it. I don't know what you think about that idea, Colin, but it'd be a list that would be well worth getting together, and I could think of a few names.
I'll put my name on it, mate. I'll put my name on it.
I'd certainly put mine on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Mine's already on it.
I don't know what we're talking about.
And Jason's very quiet.
You know, I mean, I tend to find that most people who are aware of what's going on in their mind, maybe not in practice as much as they'd like to be, are anarchists, ruled by none. And by that, I don't mean throwing petrol bombs at police officers, because that's not what anarchy is. Anarchy is just taking responsibility for yourself, helping others, and basically living by common law, which you can teach to a 2-year-old. Don't hurt anybody, don't kill anybody, don't steal from anybody, and don't make too much noise after dark because you might upset your neighbours. That ain't rocket science.
No.
In practical terms, it's not that easy, because we are living in a system, and to survive, you've got to pick your battles one by one and pick them wisely, whether it's the water, the electric, the gas, the poll tax, the local council knocking a building down, whatever it is. But, good people have got to start standing up and doing something for somebody. And whenever I sort of speak to anybody, the one thing that I always notice is that when they're trying to help somebody else, you have to have your own life in some kind of stable position to be able to do it effectively. It's no good trying to help everybody else if you're in bits. You've got to do it with stability. The only reason that I was able to help Daisy was because I'm fortunate that at the moment, it hasn't always been the case, but at the moment, touch wood, I'm reasonably stable. 9 months ago, I wouldn't have been in a position to do that. No. See, it's not a case of I'm the most important thing, but I'm the most important thing in my life. But as long as that's stable, then you can help somebody else. And I just encourage anybody to do that, whether it's going to Leeds or, a court case for anybody, or whether it's getting a clamp off somebody's car. Or, if there's 2 of you stood there and 2 bald guys in black jackets and a white van, they're a bit more likely to take a bit of notice. If you've got a camera on a tripod, anything. Let's show these people that actually this is our world and we're in charge of it, and you lot can piss off.
I've got to take issue with your I'm in a pretty good place. You're sat on your settee in your underpants talking to 3 insane men on Skype.
With a very wet dog between my legs, which is why I ain't got any trousers on at the minute. I bathed him just before we came on air, and he's very wet.
So you got contact tonight then? Is it contact tonight?
Yeah.
He loves his dog, Ada. He's one of a kind. So
he's my ex's mother's dog, but I've got visiting rights once a week.
So what, Colin? What do we do moving forward?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it, mate? It is a good question. What do we do? We're gonna have to. People are gonna have to sit down and, like that guy Adi just said, we've got to sort of make a plan. Got to make a plan before it's just we can't do nothing else. We're just thrown to the roadside. You know what I mean? It's people are going to have to start waking up and just getting on with it before it's too late.
Well, while ever there's people like you, and there's people like Aid, and there's people like Andy, and there's people like me who for me and Andy, what we do is we just try to share what people are doing, and we're not really as heroic as you guys, but I mean, as long as there are people like you coming about, and believe me, 5 years ago, Adi was not this man. He was not this man that sits in front of us now.
I was normal.
Completely different. And so, as long as there are people out there that are able to influence other people, because I take credit for Adi. I'm his truth daddy, as it were. I was the one that opened his eyes and woke him up, and he just went nuts, spewed truth everywhere. But as long as there are people like that about, and there are people that are susceptible, susceptible, it sounds wrong, but people that are open to be able to change, get rid of the cognitive dissonance and see really what's going on, then we've got a chance. We've always got a chance. What do you think?
When when you started plucking away at me bit by bit, Jason, a few years ago, once I always knew there was something wrong, but I ain't got a clue what it was. And I can't even remember what it was that actually made me click. But I was in the fortunate position that I wasn't going through hell at the same time that I became aware. Most people who become aware of what's going on do so out of bloody survival and have to do it because they're losing their house, they're losing their job, the local council's knocking down everything round them, or something bad is happening to them. And, you know, when you go protesting to these people in their ivory towers or with their posh names or badges or whether the Queen gave them or whatever, they're still flesh and blood. And if we go protesting to them, all they hear is, oh, look, they're asking us for permission to do something or not to do something. And they just shut the door. They're not interested. So let's stop asking them and start telling them. Let's start rejecting what they say. You know, don't be on the electoral register. Because my local council want to give somebody called the occupier a £1,000 fine. I don't know who this occupier guy is, but I'm sure he'll pay me eventually.
Well, they'll probably just bill Israel. If it's the
somebody, because if you don't register your vote, you're not part of that democratic process. So you maintain your voice to be able to go to the council and say, I reject what you're doing. And they have to listen. Now, if enough people do that, let's not all get on a bus and bugger off down to London and protest, because all they see is, oh, look, they're outside asking us for something again.
Yeah, and nobody sees it anyway because the mainstream media won't show it. They won't cover it at all. And they'll do... I saw an interview of an anti-Trident, somebody protesting the anti-Trident protest that went on in London, and they were asked. The BBC reporter was asking her how she felt about such a small turnout, and then when you saw the turnout, it was like hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, because they don't want you to see what's really going on. So let's stop asking these people for things and let's just ignore them out of existence. If everybody woke up tomorrow and had couldn't remember anything about the tax system, so we all just stopped paying tax, well, how many people work for the tax man? A drop in the ocean compared to how many people pay tax. So if we all just stop paying tax tomorrow, what are they going to do? Come around and visit us all? Well, that'll be the end of that then. Let's just ignore, let's choose what we're going to ignore out of existence and just ignore it. Let's start with the electoral register, because once we've all got our own voice back and stop being part of what they call democracy, because democracy is just there's thousands of ways of chopping up the population: black, white, male, female, young, old, in work, out of work, claiming benefits, not claiming benefits, householder, renter. There's a million ways to do it. So at some point, you are going to be in the minority.
Yeah, listen, Aidy, we've got a question from the chat room from Mithrin. How are you doing, Mithrin? Nice to see you in the chat room as usual, and great speaking to you the other day. He's put, sorry if I missed this, but how is he demonstrating to the council that he's not registered? So I think that's Mithrin sort of saying, not registering is not then telling them, you know what I mean?
Right.
How are you demonstrating that you're not registered?
So, the council, they know who lives here, because at the moment, I'm in rented accommodation. Now, if I don't pay my council tax, I'm not well versed enough in this to know what happens because I'm in a private rent. Mm-hmm. So, at the moment, I'm fighting other battles. Now, they know who lives here, because it's me who pays them every month. But once a year, they send me a letter saying, Dear Occupier, please register to vote and anybody else who's eligible. And what that's actually doing is two things. It's you're saying that you're happy with democracy, so you're just happy to go along with it. And yes, you agree that the council can do whatever they decide because the majority say so. Mm-hmm. But as I've just said, there are thousands of ways of chopping up the population. And very often you will find yourself in the minority. So when they sort of started sending me letters saying, you need to register to vote, and a month later, now you have to fill it in, Dear Occupier, and I started to think, hang on a minute, Occupier, they know who I am because I pay them.
Yeah.
I send them a standing order every month from my bank account with my name on it. They know who lives here. So I just didn't do it. And then they came around to the house and knocked on the door and wanted to shove this piece of paper in my hand. And they never ever used my name. Never once tried to. They said, "Oh, this is for you," and tried to put it in my hand. And I went, "Whoa, what's that?" "Well, you've got to register to vote." And I went, "Oh, really?" And I just shut the door. Never heard from them again.
Yeah.
But apparently they're going to send somebody called the occupier a fine. Apparently.
Well, that's half of their move, isn't it? Is by putting that threat of £1,000 fine, and most people, I can think what most people say. Oh, I don't want £1,000 fine.
Yeah, exactly.
To my knowledge, and I've been doing this for 6-7 years now. To my knowledge, I've never ever heard of a recorded instance where someone who hasn't gone onto the voters list has even been taken to court. I don't know if you guys have heard any different, but I've never personally heard.
Well, that's because they're writing to the occupier, and you've got to put your own name to it. And until you do, they can't get you in court anyway. So it's just an empty threat. Well, I hope they find me, Mr. Occupier, and take him to court. Because if they do, I'm going to be an upstanding citizen, and I'm going to go and represent him in court and tell them they can't do it to him. But we've just ignore this thing out of existence. Just don't vote. Don't register to vote. Keep out of it. Because if we all did that, they'd soon be wondering what the bloody hell they were going to do. Because they're supposed to work for us. They're supposed to be scared of us in case we don't vote for them. That is not the case at all.
No.
That is absolute, and that doesn't matter whether it's councils, local government, the main parties, anything. They need us, but they need us to shut up as well.
Yeah, we just got a bit of a more of an explanation of Mithrin's question, and he's saying sure, but when he turns up at the council to reject, how do they then and there know he's eligible to reject?
Because when you register to vote, when you register anything, you give up legal title to it.
Yeah.
When you register your car with the DVLA, you give up legal title to it. And the reason we know this is true is because if Jason doesn't pay his road tax on his car, then they'll put a clamp on it. And then when he still doesn't pay it, they'll take it away and squash it into bean tins. Well, if it was really Jason's car, they couldn't do that because that's theft. Because when he registered it, he gave up legal title to it. He kept the use of it, but he gave up the legal title to it. And the same is true of when you register your children or when you register your vote. When you register your vote, you agree to go along with the majority. If you don't register your vote, you maintain the right to be able to go to the council and reject at your will. 10 times a day if you want.
Yeah.
So the occupier of your home, they have to get you to register your vote with them so that you're on their electoral register, so that you're just going along with the masses and you lose the right to stand there and shout.
Yeah, Kev Marks just made a point in the chat room as well that they sell your details as well. So they use it for the census, and of course they'll be selling them to anybody that's got your details, any details of you. He's selling them out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a friend who's just been called up for jury service, and she said, "Oh, it'll be you next." I said, "I doubt it. I'm not on the electoral register." They're not going to ask me.
Doc Rock's come up with a plan. He says, better still, let's all deregister and go and spark up a spliff in the closest pub to our local polling station.
Sounds like a plan to me. I mean,
you saying about that? I had a friend contact me the other day, and they were saying, I've been checking up on my credit. I keep going on one of these credit companies to check my credit. Mm-hmm. I said, have you been putting all your details in? She went, yeah, I have to. And I said, do you realise that they're selling every bit of information that you're giving them, they're selling on? Yeah. To debt collector companies and all the associated friends. They're sending all to you.
Including the password that you've used. In the hope that you use it on other websites as well.
Yeah. Well, this is it. The people are so quick to give up their information about anything.
Yeah, I've had this conversation today. Today I've been up to Leeds to the White Rose Shopping Centre. I've been on a bit of a date with my daughter for doing some Christmas shopping, and we ended up at Meadowhall. And as we were sat just in the car as I was taking her home, and suddenly she says, and she's looking on her phone on her app, on her banking app, and she says, "Oh, they've took this money out again." Her and her boyfriend are paying £15 a month to be able to access their credit report.
What?
Jesus Christ.
I said, what? I said, get it back. And also they'd cancelled the direct debit, but they were still taking it.
Oh, my word.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal.
Mind you, I know a gentleman who's really good at getting his direct debits back, Jason, don't you?
Yeah, I got £8,000 one time. £8,000. I clawed all my debt. It was back in 2008. You know, before everybody got onto it. It was back then, and I looked at all my direct debits, and I got tons and tons and tons of them. And I even managed to get a closed account opened, and then claw back the direct debits on all that account.
Whoa!
And I got about £8,000. But obviously, I only did stuff that I didn't, that I was supposed to, that had been taken wrongly.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Most banks you can get all that sort of stuff back on, but the one I found that doesn't really want to play ball is Santander. You have to really, really have a little sort of fight with them to get anything from them. They're a law unto self, that bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Spanish, aren't they?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Effectively, there's no government in Spain. There hasn't been for quite a while. That's the situation, isn't it? There's no government in Spain at all.
Really?
It's all in. There's no one in overall control. So,
I helped an elderly lady. She got this was Santander. Her deceased husband had a £10,000 in an ISA, in a cash ISA, which is effectively a savings account.
Mm-hmm.
And because the only reason she actually found out about it was because she'd moved house once her husband had died, and it was one of the very last letters she received during the 12 months of her mail being redirected. And they basically had said, this is now a dormant account, and if we don't hear from you in 3 months, then the money's just going to be gone. And if she hadn't redirected a mail, and they'd actually applied no interest at all to that account for 4 years, because they said, well, there's been no action on it. Well, there won't be. It's a savings account. So most people who put money into a savings account, that's what it is. It's their rainy day money. They wouldn't necessarily touch it. And in the end, we got back all of the interest that should have been applied, and we got back £2,000 in compensation as well. And that was just with 4 or 5 letters and a couple of phone calls. So.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a can of worms, isn't it? It's a subject it's got so many tangential areas to go down, and let's get back to Yarmouth.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Yarmouth and East Coast resistance. Have you got any other stories about people that you've helped?
Well, funny enough, my own son, who lives down in Dagenham.
In Dagenham, sorry, did you say?
Sorry?
Dagenham, did you say?
Yeah, he lives down in Dagenham. And he contacted me one morning. He said, Dad, I've got some bailiffs round. They're trying to take my car off me. I said, well, what's happened? He said, they're saying that I'd got spotted by one of these cameras or something at the side of a road, and they've fined me. I don't know nothing about it. So then 2 minutes later, he phoned me again. He said, Dad, there's a copper here saying he's going to smash my window in unless I unless I get out so they can take my car away. And I need to say it again, but I was on the phone to Kev. So I said to Kev, what's the best policy of this? He said, don't worry. He said, just give me your boy's number, stay on the Skype and you can listen what's going on. And he rung me boy, and he said, pass the policeman the phone. So I just sat back. So I thought, well, I'm just going to get a masterclass here. But anyway, he's gone on, and he basically told the copper that there's no way on this earth that he's ever going to touch the boy's window, and if he doesn't go away and take his friends with him, he's going to spend a bit of time in his governor's office. And basically, the copper come walking back to the window. He said to my son's name's Danny. He said to Danny, we ain't going to be touching your car, and we're going. And they literally, within 5 minutes, the whole lot just packed up their bags and all went. And that was the end of that. He didn't hear no more about it. But it's just sort of, as I say, some of the things that we're getting, it comes in so fast. It's so many people out there that are in trouble, seriously in trouble. And then you see, I put them in, like, I shouldn't do it, but you put them in pigeonholes. You've got someone who likes to bury his head in the stand, and then when it's right on top and they're smashing the door in, then they start screaming for help, right? And then you've got the others who are a little bit more composed about it, see that there's going to be a problem, and let you know about it before the problem gets a bigger problem, if you get what I mean. Mm-hmm. And it's hard sometimes, as like I said, you've got so much stuff going on. This one's having their house nicked off them. This one, the bailiffs are taking their car, or they're going in to take all their goods. And you say to them, do not, whatever you do, don't let the bailiffs in. And then they pick up the phone, oh, the bailiff's inside the house now. Well, how did he get in your house? Well, I let him in. What did I tell you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
There are 4 really powerful words. You are now trespassing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's worked for me. And I was really, really skeptical when but it works. It works. You are now trespassing. And I'm told it doesn't have to be your home, it can be your car.
I think Max added to that as well, didn't he? By if they don't leave immediately, you say, and if you don't leave now, that will be criminal trespass.
Is there not aggravated and then criminal in the middle? Aggravated in the middle and then criminal? I can't remember.
There must be, yeah, you're right.
Something like that.
Yeah, I knew I'd forget the minutiae of it.
Yeah, you and me both.
Minutiae, that's a posh word.
I know, it just come to me there and then. I thought, I've got to use it somewhere, so I had to rig up a sentence to fit it in.
It's that strong cup of tea, Andy.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's lemon, ginger and Manuka honey tonight.
Is that tea or what? You know what's waiting for you later on?
No, that's tea.
Oh right, okay. I thought yeah. And Aidy's got his whiskey.
Yeah, bullet bourbon and CBD oil, not together. I might add. I just had the CBD oil about an hour ago.
Good stuff, isn't it?
It's excellent. It is excellent.
So, yeah, there was something I wanted to bring up with Colin, and that's something we talked about. And now, obviously, probably be best if we don't mention names, but we had a little conversation about people contacting you for help and pleading desperation. And when it gets down to it, they're not always what they make out they are. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, Colin? Because I think anyone who tries to help people has been a victim of spurious claims, shall we say.
I've got a bit of that, as you can hear the Herberts are at it again.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Andy, I totally threw me.
Yeah, I was just saying about we had a conversation about people coming to us for help, who they'll tell you a story and you go fire into helping them, and when you get down to it, the story isn't quite the way they told it, is it?
Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about a little conversation we had the other day.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't need to mention any names, obviously, if you'd rather not.
Yeah, it was a guy that come to me, and hold on, 1 second, Andy. I'll come back to you, mate.
No worries, mate. Okay, Colin's just having to go and.
He's round up some goats, I think is the word.
I think it's one of his 27 children, isn't it?
There's children every. He says he's only got 6, but I don't believe him.
Yeah, they keep coming back in though. Every time he ushers them out and says, "Oh, there we go."
It's like that bit on a Scooby Doo. No, it's not Scooby Doo. It's on. Scooby Doo, where they're all chasing each other and they're going out of one door and coming back in.
Into another. Yeah.
Oh, there's a big lineup of them.
Oh, hey, hello, everybody there in Colin Johnson's house. There we go. We've got a wave.
Oh, there's
There
more
they
of
are.
them. We've got a big crowd now, Colt. And he's back.
Oh, blimey, it's enough, isn't it, eh?
Yeah.
Sorry,
What tribe
mate.
you got there? Get Colin.
Colin could always get a job as a Paul Hollywood impersonator. You'd have to work on the accent, though.
Yeah, what was I saying? I was saying about this guy. He come to the door and he said, I'm right in trouble. I really need some help. I'm autistic and I've got Asperger's and everyone's against me. I'm being threatened and harassed by my neighbours. I'm being threatened and harassed by the police. They're sitting outside my house. They're knocking on my door all sorts of times a day to see if I'm there. Really, really loaded it on thick. And see, he used the little words of autistic and all the rest. Because I've got a child who's autistic, and I've seen how people are towards him. I sort of fell for him straight away, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So I've done a stupid. I'd say a stupid thing now, because it's the old word of hindsight, isn't it? You sort of see it, but I didn't check out the other side. I didn't check out the other side of the story. So I was just taking his word for it all the time, everything he was saying to me. And he was proving it, because I was seeing the footage of the police kicking his door and dragging him off and stuff like that. I was seeing it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
But I'd got through the courts with him. I'd got all the charges dismissed against him. I went to the police and basically put them under notice for harassing him and all the rest of it. They walked away. Everything. I basically cleared the whole decks for him. And with that, he put a thing up on YouTube, basically saying, I'm this, I'm that. I've radicalised him, and I'm anti this and I'm anti that, and quite nasty. And I thought, hold on a minute, I've just got this geezer out a right load of crap.
Yeah.
And he's doing this to me. This ain't right. Something's not right here. So I thought to myself, right, I'm going to go round and see his neighbours. I'm going to go and see the police. So I went round to his neighbours, and his neighbours welcomed me, and he said, yeah, look, we'll tell you the real story about this guy. And it turns out he was a nasty piece of work, a really nasty piece of work. And even had a touch of paedophilia in him as well. And when I started to hear this, I started to get that sick feeling. You know, that sick feeling you just poke your nose in.
Yeah.
Without looking at both sides. And what this woman was telling me about, well, it's on my YouTube channel. People can go have a look at it and watch it. It was disgusting. It was really disgusting. And when I spoke to the police, the two coppers that had actually been seen most times outside his house, and they said, you we had to do that because he was making everyone's life a hell down that road. And I said, well, it still chokes me up a little bit here because I really went for this because I thought this geezer was being harassed beyond belief.
Mm. Well, I don't think there's anything to be pulling yourself up on there, Colin. We've all been through it. And I think it's one of those things when you lay yourself open, you say, right, I'm here to help people. Because I've had it, and the guy that you described, I've seen some of what the neighbours pointed out about him, and yeah, it was unfortunate. But I've had people come to me and they tell me their stories, and yeah, that's something we could cover. But then when you start looking into the story and you start thinking, hang on, that bit doesn't make sense, and then you start checking into it, and hang on, this is not right. And there are quite a few people who've come to us with stories, and we thought, yeah, this great story, we'll cover it. But then when you start looking into it, they have got an excellent story. The mistake they've made when they come to you is they think, I've got to make this sound really good. And they over-egg the pudding, and they add bits in there that are not that don't belong, and put stuff in that's not true. And unfortunately, you help people like that, you end up with egg on your face. So it is a difficult situation, and you're always open to that sort of manipulation when you're offering to help people. I just wish people.
I agree with what you're saying, but see, this guy, he must have done a bit of homework on me. Because he used the words autistic, and straight away he had my attention. Do you know what I mean?
I wonder if you might have caught the last show that you did with us, because there was mention of Jack and his Asperger's on that show, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it turns out this geezer's got none of that either. So it was even worse. But I'll tell you now. Face to face, he played a brilliant act, because he acted like someone who was autistic.
Right.
You know, but it turns out that he's got none of these things. There's nothing wrong with him. He's just a good con man.
I think the sad thing is, Colin, that you're obviously a guy with good morals who's willing to help people. You've only got a limited amount of time because you've got your own life to lead, just like any of us. And, you know, you try and pick your battles wisely. And if somebody's taking advantage of your good nature, the sad thing is that you weren't available to help somebody else that really did need help.
Yeah, there is that.
That's the biggest crime for me.
Yeah.
This guy's sad enough to, I don't know, want the world to revolve around him or something. That's sad in itself. But you weren't there either for your family or to help somebody else who really did need help, who deserved it.
Exactly.
But yeah, everything
I did learn something that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Is always listen to your partner, because I've got to admit, when she met him and she see what he was saying, she said to me, "There's something wrong about him."
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, no, you know, I know what I'm talking about, and I went in it at both feet, and I should have stepped back and listened to what she said to me.
I couldn't agree with you more there, Colin, because I've got my very own wise woman here. She gets spoken of very highly for the help that she does booking guests and that sort of thing. But also, she's my kind of scam artist warning, because I'll look into something and don't know about that. That looks a bit iffy to me, and she's always right.
I have to say that the best bullshit radar that I know is Jason Holmes. Jason and I had with help of quite a lot of people, were part of a group in Sheffield a few years ago. And there was one guy who got involved, and I thought he was fantastic. And Jason, the first time he met him, said, "There's something dodgy about that guy, I don't know what it is." And sure enough, 18 months later, when it all had to fold because of all the disruption, guess who was at the centre of it?
That guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason's got the best bullshit radar I've ever known.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about
If you
that.
could bottle that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll buy a bottle of it, Jason, please.
Well, well, you just get a feeling about somebody, and my feelings are pretty usually spot on. I mean, I've had certain situations within the family unit, whereas I've said I don't like that person, and they've always turned out to be a wrong one. So, yeah, I do have a tendency to be able to know when somebody's not on the level, and that's fucking what can you say? Sorry, I swore then, didn't I?
I think the sad thing is that while ever there are good people who want to help people for no gain of their own, in fact, often at an awful lot of cost to themselves, there will always be people who are not so much take advantage of it, but more use it for their.
Right.
It's not even their own financial gain. It's just a case of, I like the guy that Colin was describing. It's more he just wanted to be the centre of everything, and it's just wrong. It's not. I think everything that we try and do, and everybody who's listening to this as well, it's doing something for somebody for nothing in return just because you can.
Yeah.
And I would say, Colin, for God's sake, don't let that put you off being the good guy that you clearly are, trying to help people.
I'll never do that. But I won't be caught twice again.
Oh, you will. It'll happen again because it always does.
Well,
Every day's a
I'll
school
be
day.
watching out for it then. I'll try not
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, by your very nature, you're bound to get people that are going to try to exploit that, aren't you? What we're sort of getting towards. We've got about 7 minutes left. So, how's about you sort of plug your groups, your websites, all that sort of thing, and let people know how they can get involved and how they can help you along, and how they can, if there's anybody listening or who hears this on the podcast that it lives in Great Yarmouth, how they can get in touch with you and help.
Yeah, well, they can always contact East Coast Resistance. That's on Facebook. Or I'm pretty well known on YouTube. All they've got to do is stick in Colin Johnson, and especially with Great Yarmouth next to it, and I'll be all over it. I'm even more popular than the council up here.
That wouldn't be hard from what you described to the council, Colin.
At least you can tell who the council are with their vans with a new livery on them now.
Yeah. Thank me for that.
Have you got any plans for future things? Any events, anything like that, or anything that you're putting together that you want to sort of plug?
Yeah, well, I'm looking to put together a little consortium to fight council on what they're doing. So if there's anyone out there from the Great Yarmouth area or the Norfolk area, get in touch. See what we can do. The more people, the merrier.
Yeah.
And like I say, anyone who's in trouble with bailiffs or anything like that, debt collectors.
And of course, what you're trying to do is important, because you're trying to look after a town. I think it was somebody posted earlier on in the chat room. It was way earlier on. But if they destroy the towns, then everybody's moved towards smart cities, and then the people that live in the towns are just going to be the people that are servicing the town, and for whatever purpose it's been designated. So. It is important that people do fight these things that are going on.
Yeah, of course. And if you start one place, and it soon spreads. And if you start getting some wins under your belt, people start listening.
Yeah.
Eyes get opened.
It's been a great show tonight, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Colin, and thanks for the update, Aid, and I hope you'll pass on everyone's best wishes to Daisy when you see her.
Yeah.
We'll be back next Tuesday, same time. It'll be after Christmas, though, won't it? And next Tuesday, who have we got on? Oh, yes, we've got the Parker family who've had their home stolen. and every time the bailiffs come round and steal their home, they cut the shutters off and go back in. So they'll be joining us next Tuesday night with Guy Taylor, who's been helping them out. So that'll be an interesting one. And all I can do is wish you all, if you
no dark sarcasm in the courtroom. Counsel, leave those kids alone. Hey, counsel, leave those kids alone. Just another prick gonna fall. All in all, you're just another pedo to maul. We don't need no family breakup. Stealing kids for dodgy deeds. Council cronies, Masonic morons. Grease the wheels of corporate greed. Hey, pedo, leave those kids alone. All in all, you're just another prick gonna fall. All in all, you're just another pedo to maul. We can't take your kids if you don't pay your taxes. If you don't pay your tax, we cannot take your kids. Oh, fuck that shit.